Yo, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy ColtsTalk. We're back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts, the rematch. This is a very important game because this one is for the first place in the AFC South. But before we get into it, I'd like to appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the noties. Hit that bell as well to know when I drop some content, like go live during the game, go live after the game, do a YouTube short, which is very funny and entertaining, by the way, because it has breaking news of that nature. Or if I just drop a game preview like this one. Go ahead and comment below your score predictions. Who do you think is going to go off? Who do you think is going to struggle? And give me why, and also give me just a score at that. But let's go ahead and hop into it. This is for the first seed in the division, the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts. This is going to be a very interesting one because this is the Jaguars just coming back from, the London game. And this can go either way. The Jaguars can come into this game with momentum, or they can be jet lagged, and, this can be a deteriorating game. I do think, honestly, I think the Jaguars play better in London than they do at home. Even though they have home field advantage in Jacksonville, I just think they're a London team. And I think they have some type of advantage over there because the league loves putting them over there for some reason. They might have a good fan base over there as well. But, for this game, this is going to be a lot of pressure on both teams, honestly. I think this game will be a little bit more intense than the first meeting. The first meeting didn't go as planned for the Colts, but they still could have won that game. But this game is a little different. Of course, the Colts do not have Anthony Richardson this game. They're going to be having Gardner Minshew, but they also have Jonathan Taylor this game. Now, of course, there's going to be Jaguars fans that's going to mention, oh, but look what we did against the Bills last week. They couldn't run anything. They only had 29 yards. This Colts team running the football is a little bit different from Buffalo. I think they do have a two-headed monster, and this could be an explosion game for Jonathan Taylor or an explosion game for Zach Moss, because Zach Moss is one of the best runners in the league right now. This is not me being biased. It's just you watch the games, you look at the numbers, either or. You can look at numbers and see that. But, this is a little different. So I do think, we can be a little bit more aggressive on the run this week, especially with a team like Jacksonville, who's better at pass rush, in my opinion. To look at the teams we just played the Titans and the Ravens, and both of those teams are pretty good. Pretty good defensive lines, and one of them were the best teams to stop in the run, and we ran up all over them with Zach Moss. So, granted, we had Anthony Richardson, but before he went down, he wasn't really doing a lot of damage on his legs. Zach Moss was doing all the damage, and Jonathan Taylor came in, and he was doing a little bit of damage too. And the offensive line has been improving week by week, has been improving on run blocking, and I think you're just going to see a little bit more of that going into this week. So granted, Gardner Minshew, a lot of people are claiming he's on a revenge tour against his former team, and this happens to be one of those teams, and I guess he's at home because, Jacksonville is just another home for him, and he knows that field very well. So, going into momentum, I think the Colts have that, especially when you look at, what they just did. They just snapped the streak that the Titans just had against the Colts. This can be one of those things again. This can be another streak being snapped. It's all about momentum, and I think the Colts have a good momentum right here. And I think they have a good shot of winning this game for sure. Jacksonville as well. You can say that, granted, because of the offensive firepower that they have. But last time they played, the Colts did not have Julius Brents. They're gonna have him this time. They had Brents on Hopkins last week. I think that was a good snap, a good idea having him on him, big body on big body. Of course, you can look at the number and say, "Oh, Hopkins went off," but I mean, whenever Brent was on him, he gave him a fight gave him a run for his money. So there won't be no Zay Jones, I think, this week. So Calvin Ridley, if he's playing, you put Brent on him. I think that's a good matchup. I think Brent can hold his own. Of course, he had some down moments, and he had some up moments. He could have had a pick last week. So I do think he's going to hold his own against Ridley. And I think this Colts defense is going to come in with some firepower, and they're going to put some pressure on Lawrence to force him to make some reads. Lawrence is not Matthew Stafford. They have Ryan Tannehill. Lawrence isn't Ryan Tannehill, but Lawrence is he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He is. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Top 5 in some people's books and some people's eyes. So when I say he's not Matt Stafford, I think he's a little bit up over Matt Stafford. He in that first meeting, he was just putting the ball placements. It was just right for the receivers, man. They were just in the bread basket for them. But I think this Colts team's gonna know what they're coming at. They know what they're getting, and I think it's gonna be a little bit different this time from what we seen the first time. The first time we couldn't stop a lick. ETN went crazy, and I think this Colts defense is gonna have enough firepower to hold them, and the offense is gonna put up some numbers too. So I think the run game is going to be the answer for Colts on the offensive side. The defensive side for the Colts just have to put pressure on Trevor Lawrence. I think once they do that, Trevor Lawrence is not going to beat you on his legs. That's just a known fact. Can he run? Sure, but he's not outrunning anybody. Honestly, in my opinion, and the biggest concern for me for the Colts moving forward in this game is soft coverages. We've seen this the last few weeks. Even though the Colts pulled out a victory over the Titans, the soft coverages were a huge thing the last few weeks, and it's starting to become a concern moving forward, especially when you got quarterbacks like Stafford or Tannehill or maybe even a Trevor Lawrence coming into your building or you're going up against. You give Stafford or Lawrence any type of time or like shot coverages when you're just backing off and giving the middle of the field to them, they're going to take advantage of it and they're going to rip you apart. And that's one thing you cannot do. I think we know how big this game is and how important this game is. And if you're going to do things like that, that just means the defensive line is going to have to really win their matchups in the trenches. That's really what it's going to come to. You're going to have to win those trench battles to get Trevor Lawrence to make a mistake. And if you don't, then you're going to look at a 400-yard passing game from him. And it's just that simple. So, I mean, if we do have those shallow coverages where people are playing so far back that everything is open up the middle, then that means the defensive line is going to have to eat. They're going to have to eat. It's that simple. So, like I said, I do think, favored, when it comes to this matchup, when you look at the last game from the Jaguars, the Bills were just, they had a lot of penalties too, man. I mean, they couldn't figure it out on the run game, but they had a lot of penalties, a lot of boneheaded penalties, when it was just like they were just out of sync. But they still had a chance to win that game. So I don't think the Colts will have a lot of penalties. If we do have anything, it's going to be from the right side of the offensive line. But I do think the run game will have an advantage for the Colts for them to pull it out. I think the run game will be good enough for the Colts. Gardner Minshew is not really known for a lot of mistakes. I am a fan of Gardner Minshew coming off the bench then starting. So I do think he'll have a few hiccups where he just do not hit targets. But I think the run game will be prominent enough for him to hold his own, to be a game manager, and to get them into a victory. Special teams isn't an issue. I think the defense, again, will put pressure on Lawrence enough to hold over and to defeat the streak. So this will be a good game. I do not think it'll be a high-scoring one. But I do think it'll be a close one on both sides. So I'm going to favor the Colts with an upset victory over Jacksonville in Jacksonville. And it's going to be by a field goal. So I'm going to go 24-21 Colts victory. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section about the game. Who do you think is going to win? If you think Jacksonville is going to win, I will not be opposed to that decision. This is going to be a hard-fought battle. I think both teams are going to come out and fight. But I do think, with the Jaguars coming back from overseas and everything, I think it's going to play a part in this game. And I think the Colts are riding on some good momentum right now, and I think they can pull it out. And I think they have a point to prove to the NFL and the AFC South that this is a different regime, and they got some answers and some questions, man. And I think they got some answers to some questions. So I think they're going to pull it out. I think they'll win the game. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you guys after the game. This is Marcus, and until next time, you've been Culture Shock.